Yeah. So what they have is like for the month of March, all of the positive things that happen, they refer to it as active indicators. Now in Trinidad, we don't say active. I'll tell you what we say just now, right? So they record these things that are positive, they call it active indicators. And those that are, well, things that they don't want to happen, things like accidents, those are also recorded, but they are called reactive according to the UK. But in Trinidad, we say leading. We use the word leading indicators and lagging indicators, right? But the UK are not too fond of those words, but I wanted to bring it home now, like bring it home to how to like what we call it. So we do measuring performance as well in Trinidad, and we record KPIs as well, just that we call it leading and lagging, LAGGING. And you know, you record what happens there. So like just on the top of it, this itself could be a question, but again, it's open book, so that you know, I guess if you just check page 3 there, you'd have seen that, you'd have seen reactive and active. So I just sort of did that there for you. So you have to go across to the next page, right? This will be page 4 to get some more content anyway, right? So just as we look at it though, I'll try to fit them here because what the syllabus have 5 active indicators that is covered in this chapter. So sometimes I say that itself is a question they could ask, like what are some of the active indicators that you measure? But there's 5 on your syllabus, right? So it's on page 5 in your book. Some of the active indicators they say are inspections. An inspection is seen to be active, meaning it's positive. Why is it positive? It's because if you do an inspection, you can pick up maybe that, let me try to make up one for you. Maybe as you inspect, you would have realized like the fire extinguishers needed to be serviced, or maybe they're not in the right place. As you do an inspection today, it's raining, so I can probably make one from the rain. You can probably realize that water is seeping into, you know, like a part of your yard, or this is your compound I'm talking about, right? Or a drain has been busted, so the water. So as you inspect them, you can actually see these things and remedy them then. So inspections are seen to be active. You also have sampling. I'm using your book a little bit here, but all of these are on my slide. I'm just going to do them one time here. Sampling is seen to be active. Just put sample there, but you see it on page 5 as sampling. Sampling seem to be positive. You can think of this as maybe, again, I'd use the rain. The rain is a bad example, of course, but you know, like think like taking a water sample. If you were testing for contaminants, heritage, checking for oil in the water or contaminants, you can take a water sample, so then you can know that the water sample has, you know, a contaminant in it, and then you can plan to actually remedy that, right? Of course, other things can be sampled. You could sample things like air. You could sample dust. Dust could be sampled. The air could be sampled again for contaminants, etc. Right? So sampling is seen to be positive as well. Tours. A tour is like a walk. We call it like a walk down in Trinidad. Again, they say tour in Trinidad, like the company, the managers take a tour. Again, that seems to be positive. And what I'm saying for those who know KPIs, you know that something is missing in how I wrote mine here. Well, a lot is missing because they're trying to give you the basic idea, right? But like for those who know what is missing is that it's supposed to have a number. With KPIs, right, you have like a target to meet every month. And then what they do for the month of March, I was telling you, they actually measure up against that target. So the January, February would have fit here. As I mentioned here, it is a spreadsheet. So that's how you see it kind of looking a bit, it going down like a sheet now, right? So January, February, March. And what you do with the KPIs, you record how much of these you do then against your target. So the company would have had to set a target. So I'm going to set a very simple target for inspection. So let's say you set a target of doing 30 inspections for the month. What the KPI will show is how much you actually do against the target, right? So we'll say January, we got 30 done. February, you could only get 28 done, right? March month so far, let's say you'd have gotten 13 done, which means you're on target. It means, what this means, every day you're doing an inspection, which is normal. Every day you're supposed to do an inspection, right? Of course, again, again, like I said, we have a mixed of students here where we have new students and you have more mature students in the field, because those of us in the field, you know that 13 is a very low number. 13 is a very low number for inspections, right? You all are seeing this slide, right, everybody? Yeah, I know last week you all wasn't seeing one of my slides, right? So 30 is a low number, right? Companies will set a much higher figure than that, meaning you could do more than one inspection for the day then, right? You could do like pre-startup and all of those types of inspections. So that's what that's what's missing from this sheet. But anyway, I just going ahead to show you the 5 of them. So inspection, samples, tours. The other one is survey. You may have to turn the page, you'll probably see it, right? And it's probably been mentioned, but surveys is also another proactive means of measuring performance, surveys. And the last one is auditing, but auditing is a little bit of pages going forward, right? So audits are seen to be, it's supposed to be an A, right? Audits are seen to be active. Now it's on the slide already. I just wanted to tell you that, but those are the 5 then, right? Those are the 5 active indicators, and reactive is anything that is bad. So I guess we can leave this slide. I can probably clean this and go to the slide to show you some of the reactive, right? Reactive is anything that is bad. And once you record that, that will be something that is called a reactive indicators. The book may have a bunch, so I'm hoping to just take it from the book, right? Trying to see if we have a bunch anyway. It doesn't seem to have a bunch anyway. So yes. I see some on page 10, right? But let us clean my slide a bit because I have it on the slide. So we could take it from there, right? So the main thing I wanted you just before I clear there is that when we measure performance, then the main thing you have to know is that we measure performance in 2 ways. We measure performance proactively or actively, and you also measure performance with what has happened negative in the company. Measuring performance is twofold then in safety. Proactively, meaning like you could actually take a tour and possibly notice that like the worker wasn't wearing PPE and then correct it. But then if there's an accident, there's also a need to measure that performance as well. So measure performance is twofold, both leading and lagging, both active and reactive. And this is a very, I guess, simple way of trying to show you the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is not part of your exam though. I was just trying to make it real that if you do have to, well, if you are safety, you do have to record these things, day by day, and it makes up what you submit at the end of the month. This sheet normally goes to your manager or your director to see what's happening with the company then, right? If you have any questions, you could ask there as I'm trying to get to the next slide, right? All right. Yeah, so this is a pretty simple lesson, I'll tell you, right? I'm trying to figure out how, this could come. Right? This slide has in it why measure performance. The answer is that it's only when you measure, you'll know like what your weaknesses are and like how to improve from there then, right? So it's right in this slide here. Remember, this is an open book exam. So if they ask you why measure performance, you can just, take it from here. Measuring performance tells you what the level of performance is. Like, are you getting 30 inspections in the 30 days? And if not, well, then why the level of performance is as it is, right? So if not, then why not? Why you're not getting the 30 inspections and what you said you wanted to do, right? Anyway, that's straight from the slide. Right, as I mentioned, these sort of exams now tend to be the easier things to go with, right? So let me go to the next slide. I had here some of the reactive indicators. I think maybe what you could do now, I have this on many slides, so what you could do is probably session a zone and probably get about 10 or something. I don't know if you wanted to but like if you understand what I was saying, a reactive indicator is anything that is negative. What it means is that you can make up some. You don't often have to use my list, right? You book up some on page 10, it looking like. Trying to see if it had any more. Probably have, but reactive started on page 9. And it seems to be on page 10 is where they give you some there. But the thing is, if you understand reactive to be anything that is negative that happens to the company, you can make up some, right? So that's what I did here. I just wrote some down as what the company wouldn't want to happen, right? So things like number of accidents and incidents. You can get more than 10 from this one slide. Number of first aid, number of lost time, a high accident rate. Now you have to say those words that are safe, and I'm just pull my marker here. To make it negative, you'll have to say like a high number of, right? Remember, if you just say accident rates, they wouldn't know if that is proactive or reactive. So if you put in front of it a high number, or put a high of, my mistake there, right? So this would be a high number of. If you say a high number of, then it makes it reactive then, right? So if you say a high number of first aids cases, then it makes that reactive. A high number of accident rates. You can say things like a negative result from hygiene monitoring, right? A negative result from hygiene monitoring, meaning that they check workers, drug tests or lung capacity check, and it came back, like the workers suffering that, right, from dust or whatever have you, right? So a negative result or, right, a negative result from hygiene monitoring or unfavorable result then, right? The workers showed up with lead or, being exposed to asbestos or something. So that is what makes it negative. To make accident costs reactive, you're going to have to say a high value of, a high value to the cost of the accident, right? RIDDLE is a law they have in the UK. I'm not too sure if we came across it already. I don't think we did. Nonetheless, again, it's open book. You don't have to know what it stands for, but I'll tell you what it stands for. It is everyone in the lesson coming up, right? So it stands for the reporting of injuries, This first D is diseases. The other DO is dangerous occurrences. So any one of these, I think we covered dangerous occurrences in the first lesson we ever had. But then like a high number of injuries then is a reactive indicator. Reactive meaning it's nobody wanted that. Reactive means it's something negative, right? A high number of diseases. And this could be occupational diseases, right? Like dermatitis, occupational cancer, occupational asthma, right? Workers coming along with that. So that's not good, right? So it's going to be reactive. A high number of injuries, diseases, or dangerous occurrences. If you remember lesson 1, if not, I'll refresh your memory now. A dangerous occurrence is one in which you could have lost your life. It's a kind of near miss. Nothing really happened. So you got away with a dangerous occurrence. You got away scot-free, right? You got away, count your lucky stars, as they would say. But the thing is, if it had happened any other way, you would have died, right? So I mean that's never good. So if you have that in your company, That is a reactive indicator. Classic examples, if you remember chapter 1, classic examples would have been things like a fallen scaffold, but nobody was injured. An overturning vehicle, but again, nobody was injured. Remember, in a dangerous occurrence, nothing happened. Huh? But if it had happened any other way, you could have lost your life, right? The failure of a respirator inside of a tank, the collapse of the sides of an excavation when you were inside of the excavation, but you got out, I mean, you jump out or something, happened to scale out as they say, but you know, if it had happened any other way, you would have been buried. So that is what they call a dangerous occurrence, right? So look how much I have. I lost count, right? I mean, all of them had a lot. Number of claims on negligence. So what you need to say here is a high number of claims on negligence. This is not it, right? This is the one that sticks out. This is the active. We already did this on the other slide. So this actually doesn't belong here. But if we continue with the rest, a high number of enforcement action from the HSE is a reactive indicator. A high number of complaints about working standards is a reactive indicator. A poor standard of housekeeping is a reactive indicator. Negative results of health surveillance, a high number of sickness records, right? So you kind of have to quantify it to make it negative, like say a high number of, you know, poor working conditions or something, and that'll make it a reactive indicator. So the book have a very few. I'm looking at the one in the book. I already didn't check. I should probably check and see how much I already have. One. Okay, so I get more than 10, right? So I don't think you'll ever be asked more than 10, right? I don't think you'll be asked. I checked more than 10 right here already. If you have to break this up, first aid as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, this is not 1, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's more than 10, right? So the thing though I wanted to determine if you understand it, because you can actually make up one. You can make up some now. If you want to, I could show you how to make it up. Is anything that happens in the company that is bad? Right? So I'm just saying, supposing an exam question asks you for more than 10. Well, the thing is you have Google, the exam is open book, so you could probably go to Google. But if you understood it, you could make up some on your own, right? I wonder if anybody can make up some. I could try to make up one. Let me try to make up 3 for you, but you know, I mean, in the hope here that you would have been, I guess when you would have looked here for that you would have been, motivated and to make up some for yourself, right? So like I think one could be, I see enforcement action here, so I could probably say like a high number of civil claims, lawsuits then, right? Like, I mean, that's never good. A high number of civil claims could be one. So you could write them down, right? Like I said, just be prepared. A high number of civil claims. Is there anything that's negative in the company? So we have, anybody can help me with it, try to make up something that may happen in a company that's not good, but still it'll be out of this, it'll be more than it wouldn't be the same as this. I was thinking maybe a high number of staff turnover, meaning that plenty people leave in your company. Please put a high number of in front of it. I already have a high number of in front of this, so I'll leave that. So a high number of staff turnover, meaning that people not staying, people just coming and going. That's actually never good because, you know, you probably can't develop, you know, like your workers or safety culture and stuff, right? So a high number of staff turnover. Anything else, anybody? I have more than that tonight, but I try to see if you can think of anything that is bad that happens in a company that we already didn't cover here. Another one could be like the loss of a license, like you lost a license, right? So that's never good. You lost like one of the ISO license now, right? So loss of license, right? So you maybe had, I mean, when I was at Mercedes, what we used to do, I think I spelled that the correct way there, right? License according to the UK anyway. So loss of a license, like Massey had to maintain these licenses for Castrol and even ISO, right? So you have to, I guess, always be in it anyway. Loss of a license is definitely something bad anyway, right? An environmental spill. So you see how much I created here, an environmental spill, right? Is something that is negative as well. You don't really want those things. So all those things when they happen, you have to record it, right? And I guess I can give you one to close off. I mean, we have more than 10. The point I'm trying to say though is that sometimes NEBOSH, they have been bringing these 20-mark questions now with something as simple as this. I guess what I'm saying is that you could probably go to Google then, right? I want you to see the book have any more. The book does have civil claim, right? But Google could help you. I mean, they may have about 15 here now. I mean, probably more than 15. I can end with this one, and this one is not the end. I mean, it's the end to life anyway, but it's not the end of the points. If you have, you could check and get some more. But normally, if you have any debts, again, this is obvious anyway, right? That this is a reactive indicator, right? But the list goes on. If you're writing, I could shout some more, but really and truly, if you put your mind to it, anything that is negative in the company that happens that they don't want could be seen as a reactive indicator, right? So like the loss of a tender, right? You can write those down. The more you have, the better, because we don't know. I mean, these things have been coming for about 10, 15 marks, sometimes 20 marks now, right? That last one is supposed to be debt, but in no way was it meant to be the final point. So like the loss of a tender could be another one. Yeah, and I can think of others, but I think it may be getting into another course, which is called process safety, if I start to give some of the others anyway. But check how much you have there. I mean, the tender was one, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's about 19. I'm sure you can think of one bad thing on your own, right? That they could probably make up there. But again, if you do get these things, notice what I'm telling you, they do like this question, negative indicators of safety culture, the reactive indicators. They have been going for 10 marks, 15 marks, 20 marks. Your book seems very limited, right? With this, right? Again, this is a new book. The older book was better, right? Just in case anybody have that book. The older book had pages and pages of reactive indicators, right? I'm not even sure if I have a copy. I may have a copy of that at the office. But the thing is, if you can get 20, fine. I mean, it will never be more than 20, right? If you want to take some from here and maybe make up some for your own or look it up on Google, that will be the most you'll ever get. But you should do that and write it and have it. Huh? I'll say that again. You should probably think about 20 reactive indicators and write them up and have it on hand now, because it is a question that tends to come back time and time again anyway. Tell me if you have any questions here. So we actually finished there with the proactive and the reactive. However, if you look at your book, we have to go a little bit in some of the proactives, right? We have to go a little bit. Well, if you wonder where, let me try to go back and show you. We have to go back, like it have a little paragraph then, like on safety inspection. It have like a little paragraph on tours, it have a little paragraph. So we had to go back, and that's what I have on this slide here. Let me know if you have any questions, anybody. I'm taking this off from here. Again, please remember, if you are coming by the office and you want the recording, just let us know. I normally have it right here, right? So just let me know as much as possible. You can get access to them, right? I still have the intent. I just don't have the time. The intent and the time is something else, right? I still wanted to put last week's lesson up on YouTube. I probably will try to make some time. Today seems to be raining well, so I probably will be stuck indoors. So if I probably get some time today, I would put it up. I'll put up last week's lesson and this week's lesson on YouTube, right? So you can have a look at it for those who have access to the channel anyway, right? If not, when they come with a flash drive and we'll sort you out, right? So I'd have a bit more here. I guess this is just talking about the need to check both of them, right? I can read it for you, but I know it probably is self-explanatory, right? So reactive data can be used, to improve risk controls and hence improve performance. You learn from your mistakes. So we keep talking about that they need to measure both types of data, confirm whether or not health and safety objectives are being met. Active monitoring data can be used to check whether or not the planned corrective action that resulted from reactive monitoring have worked or not. Active monitoring can be used to correct things before they go wrong. So I don't think there's any question there. I think this is just saying that you need to measure both active and reactive, which we established from the very first slide, right? So they have a bit more. If it was to go back to the same page that we were on, page 10, they had like a formula there. Not to ignore that formula, they have a formula there on page 10, right? Which is called the, well, I have more than one formula here though, right? But the book only focuses on one, which is something called the, I'm looking there, you have here the lost time accident frequency rate, right? So I have that here too. You can look through this a bit, right? So this is what is an accident, a definition for what is an accident. We had covered this in lesson 1. An accident is anything that is undesired, it's unplanned, and the outcome is never good. The outcome is a ill health, injury, damage to property, plant, product, or the environment, right? In the companies, they normally categorize accidents and incidents. We also did that in chapter 1. And what they came up with, you don't have to know any of these things. This is just history anyway then, right? What they came up with, history and probably application today, but to today's world and history in that this is a very old triangle, this one and this one, they were done many years ago. And the person who did them, what they realized, this was Heinrich, a guy by the name of Heinrich. They realized like, we have more near misses than fatalities. So what they say is that if you wait to start recording fatalities, it will be too late. Plus, from month to month, you never would record anything because you think nothing is happening. But there could be things happening like near misses, minor injuries, God forbid, major injuries as well. But you need to record them because one of the theory here is that if you know about your near misses and you investigate their near misses or the minor injuries, I think we covered this on lesson 1 already, that if you investigate these, and you find the cause then, where's my cursor, right? Like, okay, like if you find the cause here, at the near miss stage, nothing has happened, right? A hammer fell from a scaffold, but it didn't hit anybody. But if you investigate from the near miss stage, what they say is that you would actually prevent a major injury, and in the long run, you could actually prevent a fatality. So this is just good common sense, in that the KPI sheets then must record. We actually didn't put what should be in the reactive part of the sheet, but it would record near misses, minor injuries, major injuries, fatalities, etc. Anything that is negative, right? And not ready to wait on getting an accident to start recording, but you want to start recording from the near miss stage anyway. The same principle was said on this triangle here. I'll tell you it again. Again, the idea here is that if you investigate, we have a lot of accidents that don't result in injuries, non-injury accidents. These figures here was worked on by Heinrich. So these figures then are like a standard, right? 17189, that's like a standard. You don't have to remember it. It's just to remember the principle is that, you can't really wait for the major accidents over 3 days. Somebody is so injured that they get more than 3 days away from work, right? But if you started to investigate from here, from the non-injury accidents, you could actually prevent a minor injury type accident, and then God forbid, a major accident type injury, right? So the formulas are here. I probably have more like I told you. I think the one your book have is a number of lost time, which is the first one. number of lost time accident frequency rate divided by the number of hours a person worked time 100,000, right? However, of course, I just have to tell you, right? But I know those of us in safety will probably have an idea. That's not the most common formula, right? So I'm not too sure why they put that formula in your textbook for, right? I mean, it's there for a reason. It's on my slide, but what I'm saying then, in the work world then, the companies actually calculate the second thing you see in here. So in terms of what safeties do then, we are required to calculate something called the accident incident rate. If you wonder why, or you probably think, well, I never do that before. Well, the answer is two. If your company is TOO certified, they require you calculate this thing called the accident incident rate, right? Of course, you're not seeing that formula, but this is the formula for it here. Number of work-related injuries divided by the number of persons employed times 1,000. And you have a couple more formulas, but when you look at this, if you have the PowerPoint, which I think you have, just remember that this one here is for real life then, right? I mean, this is what this is what safeties use on a monthly basis for those KPI sheets anyway, right? Yeah, I think I have the fan directly on me again. So this, I can't emphasize this enough. The only thing though, I'm not seeing it in your syllabus anymore. And past NEBOSH questions, this is the one they used to ask. But anyway, you stick to the one that you know or that is in your book, you know, for the sake of your exam anyway, right? Should they give you a calculation to do, is just to take the two figures divided, they'll give you this and they'll give you that figure under there, number of person hours worked, and you multiply by 100,000, right? If you want to know what do you do with it, I should probably tell you that, like, what does the figure mean? Like, okay, like if you get a figure, then like if you get 400, or you get 20, or you get 300 or 200, right? Okay, like what does that mean, right? So for the exam, the only way it will mean something is that they'll have to give you like an average, and you'd have to compare your figure against that average, right? So if we stick to the one in the book, the accident frequency rate, what I'm saying is that they'll probably have to give you like the national average for the number of accidents workers will have. And then you will calculate your company, which they'll give you the two figures. And then what you have to do is just compare it against the national average then, like if it's higher or lower. Other than that, it would not be of any use. The 400 will be nothing unless it will compare then to something else anyway, right? However, there are no questions on this first formula. None. The one in your book then, there's no questions on that. There are questions in the old past papers on this formula here, right? Let's just tie this in back to what we're doing. We were doing reactive indicators. I think both of them could fall as a reactive indicator. A high accident rate is a reactive indicator. We already established that. And a high incident rate is also an example of a reactive indicator, right? So if we put it into that context, it should be okay. I would say again, remember long ago, I keep saying long ago again, you know, this means just after before the pandemic, this around 2019, students had to remember the formulas. Today, the formula is in your book and it's on my slide, should you be asked anything on the formula, right? So that would wrap up page 10. Let me go back to those short paragraphs I was studying that we left out. Yeah, some little paragraphs, like for what is an inspection on page 5. What is, you know, survey and sampling and tour and stuff, right? So I try to think of how this would come for exam. I mean, if I have your book, it cannot be anyway complicated because it's right there anyway, right? It's right in your book, right? But let's go through them anyway. So we have here, well, I have audit. I don't know if you want me to, the ministry audit a bit, or auditors, next week lesson, right? If you turn the pages in your book, you'll see that we did audit last in the book. Audit is what ends of the chapter then, 4.2. So audit may line up to 4.4, I think, 4.3, right? But I'm just reading it, right? I'm not really explaining it. I'm just reading the definition there for an audit, right? So they say an audit is a systematic. I'll come back to that when it's time to come back to that next week, right? So an audit is a systematic approach towards identifying the strengths and weaknesses of an organization health and safety management system, normally conducted annually. It involves a full investigation throughout the entire organization. Therefore, they can take documents. This is part of that learning outcome, though, which I'm not going to go too much into today, but they can take documents from throughout the company and audit. They can ask you for, where's your health and safety policy statement? What policies you have for pregnant women? What is your procedure for dealing with a contract? I'm just making this up on the spot, right? Where are your GSAs, safe systems of work? Where are your risk assessments, right? So we pick up auditing. You'll see auditing is actually to be dealt with in more detail in the next class, right? So we're back to inspection. It's such a nice chapter to chapter 4 is just like chapter 2, right? So what is an inspection? An inspection is a systematic, more in-depth study of all the health and safety aspect within a specific area of the workplace. Let me read and then explain every slide at the end, right? So I'll read all of this and explain at the end. I don't think these are exam things anyway. I think these are just stuff to cover, right? I think it could be used as an example of an active indicator, but I don't think you're gonna get I don't think this, what you see in this slide then is exam material, right? So inspections are formally conducted by a nominated team. They are more frequently conducted than audits. They allow time for everyone to discuss health and safety matters, including the staff who can point out any problems that they may have or that they have. It allows for the introduction of any new steps that have to be taken as a result of new legislation. It demonstrates positive safety culture, right? So I think some of that is self-explanatory. If the managers are taking part in an inspection, you're part of the team, then inspections can be done, you know, I guess at the start of every shift, maybe during the course of the day. That would help to demonstrate a positive safety culture. It would form part of the team and whatever have you. Probably the only thing I can explain here to you is that if you wanted to know like the main difference between an inspection and an audit. Now, not that you want to know that, but the reason why I said that is because NIBOSH has asked students that, right? Again, before 2019, or sorry, in 2019, they will ask students, like, what is the difference between an inspection and an audit? And so that's how you find some of the points are being compared to an audit. Inspections are more frequently conducted than an audit, right? It could be done by a team. Maybe an audit is also a team as well, right? But one of the ways in which an inspection is different from an audit is that an inspection only looks at a specific area of the workplace or a specific document, whereas audits are holistic throughout the organization. Audits are holistic, but inspections are specific. For example, you can do an inspection of your forklift. You can do an inspection of the loading bay. You're not looking at anything else than just the loading bay. You can do an inspection of a scaffold, but you're not looking at cranes. You're just looking at scaffold. So inspections can be more specific or limited to a specific area of the workplace. If you're inspecting maybe documents, but it was not audit you're doing, you could probably just inspect, I don't know, you're inspecting GSAs to see if they were completed on time or they were completed the right way, or the signatures are on them. But it's just GSAs you're looking at. You're not looking at, you know, like permit to work or risk assessments or method statements. What you're inspecting is just the GSAs. So an inspection is limited to a specific area or aspect in safety, whereas an audit is more holistic. An audit looks at everything then, right? Let me move on a bit. So we mentioned that one already, right? So sampling, Guess I'll have to turn the page a bit. Safety sampling, page 6. I read it from here and it's explained at the end. So a sample or sampling is a planned partial inspection of a specific safety aspect. So it's like an inspection, but you're just sampling and you just pick out 1 or 2, right? So it's a quicker version of a safety inspection. You partially assess something, example, an area or piece of work equipment, and the results indicate whether or not it is acceptable or not acceptable, right? So what can I give you an example? So it's probably like looking at, maybe you purchase some bolts, if you know what a bolt is, I guess nuts and bolts from Do More Enterprises. You purchase a whole box of bolts. Nobody would really have time to go through the metal fittings then, you know, like one by one, right? So maybe they could open the box. They just pick at random, maybe some, and see if they could thread them up then, right? And if those could thread up, then they would assume then, okay, well, everything in the box is good, which may not be the case, right? But that's what a sample is. It's a partial inspection. And if the partial inspection is good, well, then you say, okay, well, you know, the box of bolts, nuts and bolts are good. Whereas some could be defective, but of course, it's just a partial inspection that you're doing, right? So it's like checking a reasonable number of items in a batch to confirm how good or not the batch is. And that's just based on like what you sample, right? So I would want to say, I want to add something to your book. I know this book has some very short paragraphs in them, right? Even that on page 6 is very short. That sampling is probably more used for in safety for things like dust. If you want, you could write that down. Sampling is like more like dust or water or noise. You know, like you can do a sample for dust. If you know how that's done, there's a particular filter you can use. A filter is something that you wear on you, right? A dust filter. They call them IOM filters. It's something you can wear like a clip-on badge. And for those who know how that's done, prior to you haven't gotten the filter, then the company would have had to send it to a lab to weigh it and stuff. And then you could put it on. They have something called a sample pump. And then you could wear it for 8 days at the end of the, sorry, not 8 days, 8 hours. At the end of the 8 hours, you're required to turn back that sample to whoever gave you then. And then they will take it back to the lab, they'll weigh it and find the difference between the initial weight and the weight at the end of 8 hours, right? And they will minus those two figures. The difference they get would be like how much dust it have in the workplace. The dust will collect on a piece of filter, like a filter paper, if you know what a filter paper is anyway, right? But what I'm saying is that for things like dust, then they wouldn't go, you know, like to every part or every area in your plant. They'll go to the more dusty areas of your plant and they will take a sample, right? A sample, meaning that like they'll open the vial or they will open the filter or you'll start wearing it then like from a certain point in the day. That's still a sample because, you know, all the days may not be the same. The day's work then may not be the same as another day's work. So it still is a sample. Let's say on a Monday, the sample was happening on a Monday or on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m., right? It still is a sample. So sampling is more meant for things like that, right? Sampling is more meant for things like dust, water sample, right? Noise sampling, vibration, all of those things then is more meant to be like sampled as opposed to pieces of equipment. Why I don't like to use sample for equipment for, I guess a lot of you would know that is because this is a safety course and you should not really assume that a piece of equipment is safe. You should inspect every piece of equipment, right? But so that's why I use the example they have nuts and bolts because nuts and bolts can be by the boxes then, right? And then you may just want to just sample that as opposed to a piece of equipment, right? So this technique should not be used. I should probably say that it shouldn't be that you sample pumps then, or you sample a larger piece of equipment. It shouldn't, right? If you buy, like if you bought 10 pumps, you should check all 10 pumps. If you bought, I mean, God forbid, harnesses, if you bought 4 harnesses, you should check all the harnesses. Don't check one and assume the others are good, right? So in safety, they don't really use sampling for equipment. It's more meant for water, dust, noise, you know, those kind of things anyway. And maybe if you have a lot of things like nuts and bolts and fittings, as they call it, pipe fittings, fine, you can sample those. But I mean a lot, hundreds, eh? If you buy things from do more enterprises, a box of nuts and bolts or fittings, so be about 100, about hundreds you're going to get there, right? If it was a good sized company anyway. So maybe you could sample those, but in no way should you sample things like work equipment. I think that's contrary to safety. Plus, we don't really use sampling in the workplace for that, right? I have surveys here. Now, surveys not in your book, but let's just start surveys a bit. Survey, right? Survey is one of the big 5. So this is a very detailed examination of a particular safety aspect, for example, fire or PPE. A safety survey usually results in a formal report and an action plan to deal with the findings. So I think we have all taken part in surveys like, you know, like secondary school surveys or government surveys per se. So a survey is like a more detailed search for information then. So like if you want to do a survey on maybe, let me just use, again, I don't like these two, but I'll use fire. Like if you wanna, you know, like do, find such a bad one to use, let me use PP, right? So if you say you wanna do a survey on, you know, like maybe the comfortable range of PPE by employees, like do they accept the PPE then? Like is it comfortable for them? You may want to really do a good survey on that, right? Like if you're talking about, let's just talk about safety glasses. You talk about things like, is it comfortable? Does it hurt, you know, your air if you wear it for a long period of time? So those are questions I'm saying. When you say survey, it can be like a questionnaire, right? So you can ask them like, are you comfortable with the standard of PPE given? Yes or no, and they have to tick. But you get the idea that this is more of our detailed search then, or a detailed research into the particular aspect, right? So like, is the safety glasses comfortable for you? Yes, no, maybe. Does it fog? Fog meaning that the lens tends to sort of, you know, get a better steamed up, as they say anyway. So, you know, does it interfere with your normal sight and normal vision? Is it problematic? Do you believe it can, you know, protect your eyes? And it's going to be a questionnaire. So that's why a survey is exactly what they say. It's a very detailed examination of a particular safety aspect. In this case, we could be just looking at safety glasses, right? So make sure you understand that. I really don't know how this will come for exam. I don't think they are, but I'm trying to break down these little passages for you all anyway. I think what will come is what we already said, which is what are 5 proactive indicators, of which survey makes up one of them, audit makes up one as well. Let's go to tools. Right? So you see, I mean, I don't know if, I know today is rainy and a bit sleepy. Well, on your side, right? It looks like you all are a bit sleepy on your side, right? But you know, it's not, the work is not complicated like chapter 1 then, right? The work is fairly much straightforward work anyway, right? So a tour to the bottom of page 16. A tour is like a walk that the company managers and safety will take. So they have here, it's a casual, often unplanned inspection by a safety officer or supervisor. It could be done regularly, quick and easy to organize. Check work instructions are being adhered to. You can check housekeeping and stuff, right? I'm telling you, I reading it and I just knowing that it wouldn't have any, I can't see a question on this. The only thing this could come as, I mean, is like, it's just part of the big 5, it's part of the 5 proactive. Maybe also for 2 marks, if they ask how can a manager show his commitment to health and safety, I guess one of the ways is to take a tour, take a walk, right? So you can check that the workers are following, you know, good working practices, etc. Right? So I think we finished. This year was just me trying to summarize it. I mentioned you can focus on the premises, the plant and substance, procedures and people. This is not in your book, this is our way of seeing like if you go to to actively measure them. Like if you go to do an inspection, you can look at the premises, look at the equipment, look at the procedures, look at the people, right? This is proactive measuring. So workplace inspection, a little bit more on that. I'll tell you why in a bit. It actually had it here, right? It actually had it here. Let me go back and show you. It did say, and I'll tell you why, because that one did come for exam, right? We will discuss inspection in more detail shortly, right? So that's now anyway, right? So last month they had, right, a question on inspections, but you have to know then something here, which is the most common form of an inspection is using a checklist. So you have to understand that. I don't know if you want to, well, I don't think it will come back. I mean, it was just last month anyway. The question may not come back. But they asked the students, like, what is the benefits of using a checklist? Right? I don't know if you want to paraphrase that a bit and write it down. Like, what are the benefits of using an inspection? Sorry, using a checklist for an inspection. Well, we had done it in classes, right on this slide here anyway. So, you know, I don't think they would have had a problem with it. Right? So we almost finished today. Just as one thing to go again. But just to know that that was a question, right? So just if you remember that, like if you remember seeing anybody do an inspection, like if you have gone to a company or even some of the restaurants, if you go to Subway or you probably used to go to Subway or they probably used to do it, I haven't seen it, that you'll probably see like they have like a checklist of things on their door, right? Like what they got done then. It used to be that way. So the point here, a checklist is one of the ways to do an inspection. So let's try to come up to that slide. And then when we finish, I think that's it, the lesson finished right there. Report writing is about the project, which they don't follow this format anyway, right? I mean, anymore. So there's 2 slides to come up to that. So initially, inspection frequency should be proportional to the perceived risk level. What that means, this is a good heading, by the way. The factor that determines or governs how frequently you inspect. This could be a nice question, right? What will determine how often you do an inspection? So the answer is saying the higher the risk then, the more you're supposed to inspect, right? The second point, the frequency of inspection should evolve over time as a result of knowledge gained from previous, well, about risk from previous ones. So what that could mean, if you want to paraphrase that, it could mean like the more accidents you have or the more breakdown you have with a piece of equipment, the more you should inspect that piece of equipment. I'll say it again just to make it short for you. And I guess in layman's term then, right? Like what to determine the frequency of inspection? The higher the risk in a place, the more you're supposed to inspect. If you have previous accidents, you should probably do more inspections in that place. Especially like the previous accidents was with a forklift, probably forklifts losing brakes or something, then you need to inspect the forklifts more. Another thing that will determine the frequency of inspection is the law. The law tells you like how often to inspect, right? Most work equipment is every year, by the way, if you don't know, right? All mechanical lifting equipment is once annually. You have to inspect. The LEV, if you don't know what an LEV system is, it's like an extraction fan, right? I think I realized my camera stick a bit, but you could still hear an extraction fan. It stands for local exhaust ventilation. The law had said that those types of extraction systems had to be inspected once in every 14 months, right? So once in every 14 months, not that, again, you have to know that, you just have to know that the law then is saying when should you inspect, right? People who are inspected should be competent, they should be trained, they should have knowledge. Just to read through this, remember it's open book exam if they ask you what is the competence of an inspector. How do you know that like somebody is competent, right? They must be trained, they must be knowledgeable, they must have a good rapport with the workforce, meaning they know how to talk, they have good communication skills, they have good writing skills, good observation skills, they must be committed. Again, just to slow down here, we just have 2 more slides to go, right? This was a question too, but before the pandemic, like how would you assess the competence of an inspector? So you could take all those points. Of course, you could throw in things that the person must have a degree. I probably throw in 3 for you, but yeah, I'll try to show 3 more for you, right? So the person must be, I know they say knowledge, but the knowledge must be certifiable. Just let me take off my phone on this side here, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the knowledge must be certifiable then, right? Meaning like it must have a technical vocational skill then. So I said a degree, but it could be, I guess, technical vocational as well anyway, right? So make sure you know that the knowledge must be certifiable. Certifiable. Another thing with to judge competence, well, I mean, all of this would knowledge, understanding would work. What again could work? A test for competence, right? Another one is that, well, this is a good one. The person must be like a member of a professional body, right? You know, like accountants. The person must be a member of a professional body. These are the answers from that year anyway, but this was before the pandemic. But you can never tell if they give you back, you know, a member of a professional body. And for health and safety, the professional body for us is the body known as IOSH, IOSH. Right? That's the biggest body in health and safety in the world. They are the owners of NIBOSH, of course, for those who remember that from orientation day. Right? I think I have somebody to admit there. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so they must be a member of a professional body, and maybe a last one to judge competence. I mean, all of this is really good. A last one is that the person must know their limits, right? So apparently Masha got knocked out. Let me just see if she got him back. I know Masha was with us all the time. Yeah, you must know a competent person must know their limit. That sounds kind of strange, right? But that's what they say. You must know when to ask for help then, right? You mustn't pretend and, you know, like, you know, if something that you don't know, you could actually go and find them, but actually a competent person must know that they don't know and when to get help. So a competent person must know their limit and know when to go to get additional help. These 3 answers are given by NIBOSH, in fact, right? You know, I keep saying that this is before the pandemic, but you know, just to tell you something here, right? Last month, February month, right? The students got a law question, but you know, it was the same question as how we always get it before. They asked for the breaches of Section 2 of the HSW Act, right? So they tell you before the pandemic or after the pandemic, sometimes the question is the same anyway. It was the very same question that asked for the breaches of the HSW Act, right? Anyway, let me try to finish and let you all have the rest of the day for yourself, right? So so just the one thing we mentioned before was the checklist. So we did mention that. Anybody have any questions, comments? Right, so the checklist, so it's a good idea to involve the workforce in generating a checklist. Ideally, checklist should be specific to the area being inspected rather than generic to all areas. Specific checklists should evolve over time to be even more specific. The results of a checklist can be qualitative, yes or no, quantitative using a scoring system, right? So let me just put in there, I think the question was just 5 marks last month, right? The question was just 5 marks. They asked, I hope students interpreted well, and I think you already interpreted well because the question was the benefits of a checklist using an inspection or during an inspection. There are some people who would look at that question and talk about the benefits of an inspection, but it's not the inspection they was focusing on, right? What I'll do, I know you see the official February paper has not been released, right? I want to send you all some homework this week. I know you have your project to do too, right? I just want to take a note of that. So maybe I can look for that question and send it to you, right? Or something like that anyway. So just to send you all some assignments. You could probably look out for it today. Yeah? Like I said, rain is falling, so I'm not gonna probably get to go anywhere else today. So I'll probably send you an assignment. The only thing I don't think I have your role at home. So maybe on Monday, if I do have you registered at home, I'll send you a question to look at, right? But I don't know if you want to just, for us to try to kind of trash that out, like the benefits of a checklist. I'll just grab my marker and I'll just kind of shout some for you now. I think there are more benefits than 5, but I think it was like that kind of question, right? So like, I guess one of the benefits of a checklist is that it is easy to use because anyone can just tick yes or no, right? So it's easy to use. If you're using a checklist, it's not like a complicated thing. It's written simple and it's a simple language. You must know what a checklist is, right? Like we talk about the PPE, do you think or do you find the PPE is comfortable for you? Yes, no, maybe, right? So you just have to tick, right? So it's easy to use. What they say it's cost effective to gather. Cost effective to gather means that it's just a sheet of paper now that you could just print and give out to your workers or email it to the workers. Cost effective to gather. So it's not a very detailed thing. It's cost effective. It's just paper to print, right? So cost effective or maybe paper to email. Cost effective to gather. What again could be a benefit of a checklist? Like no great skill is needed in filling it out, right? Like you don't have to have a degree then to go and do a checklist. Anybody could fill out a checklist. So no great skill is needed. It's kind of catered for the common employee then. So no great skill is needed. Like you don't want to get a consultant to fill out a checklist. Anybody could fill out a checklist. So no great skill is needed. Please finish it off, right? I just put no great skill is needed, but I left out the needed, but please write it down. So no great skill is needed. What again? I guess all of these could be benefits. The checklist could evolve over time to be a better checklist. I could take this as one, right? It could involve the workers, all of this. So this could lead to like, what is it what I'm looking there for? Enhanced safety culture if you involve the workers in it. If you involve the workers in developing a checklist, it will have a greater buy-in then. Like they would they will feel part of the process. So there's like a greater sense of belonging, right? If you get them to talk about maybe like what they felt about PPE or noise or whatever have you. So all of those are, I guess, overall benefits, right? So that's more than 5. You have about 2 there, I have about 3 here. I'll give you another one here. I think another benefit is that it can be easily distributed throughout the company, right? So like easily distributed, a checklist that is anyway. Easily distributed throughout the company. And again, you could probably remember that it could be emailed, right? So it could be easily distributed throughout the company. And again, maybe to get it back. So feedback is like feedback could be quick, right? As opposed to maybe trying to do an interview. Feedback, this supposed to be, I was gonna write a B there, right? So feedback could be quick and effective, right? Because the respondents or whoever filling out the checklist will fill it out one time, right? So feedback, I put feedback. I'm not too sure what was the other word I was going to put, but feedback could be quick and effective, right? So this supposed to be feedback could be quick and effective in that you would just inspect and look at the forklift and put condition of the tires good, condition of the light good, condition of the brakes good. So it's very quick. It's a way of doing what you're doing quick, right? So feedback is quick and effective. And I just thought about another one. The more I do them, the more I get them anyway, right? So feedback can be quick and effective. Effective meaning here that if the forklift brakes was not good, they could probably just, you know, sort that out. It don't have to be a forklift, it could be some piece of drill or something. You inspect your drill and you notice, okay, that the drill bit kind of dull, right? Or maybe the pulley or something have a, I guess if you know what a pulley is, the pulley has a defect on it. But it's quick then because you could actually just remedy it. You could say this pulley is defective, could like could I get another one, right? If you're in a machine shop type environment, right? So another, I'll put that one down here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another one here. The checklist creates an instant record. It creates an instant record for future purposes. So as you take, I wish I could have drawn one for you, but again, this screen is small anyway. I could still try here, right? Remember we talking about, if we were talking about safety glasses, right? And you talk about, you know, like you ask workers, do you think it's comfortable? Yes or no. They'll have these just things to tick, right? And then, you know, like, would you be willing to, you know, try another pair of safety glasses? Yes, no, maybe, right? Do you believe, if you know about the safety glasses like Z87, do you believe at Z87, or do you, or are you aware that Z87 is a shatterproof safety glasses? Yes or no, right? Have you been trained in you know, basic use of PPE? Yes or no? But the point is, we're trying to say, right, that that is a record now. So we figured that this was Frank. Frank said he will be willing to, you know, put on a new pair of glasses and give it a try, but he has had no basic training in PPE, right? So then that becomes a record for future purposes, like the going forward then, you know, the safety could do like a little training session on them, like how to put on your glasses and all of it, right? The use of the glasses, the limitation. Even auditors could look at that checklist now to realize that Frank was never, you know, he was never in the induction, it never really covered those little things with him anyway, right? And of course, I'm using a very basic example, but you can imagine this could be used as something much more important, right? So this is what came for February. This is actually the answers, right? I actually gave it more than 5 anyway. It had about 3 hidden up inside here, right? So, you know, that was what came, but the focus was on checklists, right? But thank God we had done it before. Hopefully those students, of course, you know, we do see the paper. The students just have to, just to let you know, your open book exam, you are home, so I've actually finished for today, right? So it's 1:53. A bit tired of my voice anyway, but for the open book exam, right? You are home or somewhere of your choosing. You are going to be given your exam on the 7th of April from NEBOSH. You'll be at home anyway, right? You have 24 hours to get it done, and the same site that they give it to you on is the same site you have to upload it to, right? Like when you finish, the system will prompt you. There's like a prompt, right? They'll say like, now that you are finished, please follow the following link to upload your project, right? Sorry, what am I saying? Upload your exam. So they would have given you a template. You'd have had to type on the template, right? When you get your link next month, then, right? You get access to like a platform. I'll probably start talking about this next week, Saturday. I realize it is kind of getting down to that time anyway, right? But you get access to like a link, like not 2 weeks. You get access to a link 1 week before. If you want, you could write this thing down. I'll say it next week again. A week before the 7th, NEBOSH will email you personally. And they will give you like a link, right? To click, and you are going to get access to the examination platform. Right, so that's number 1, right? Number 2, if you're writing anything down, I see some of you are writing. When you get the link, right, they will send you a password, but you'll have to go and change it because the password they send you will be a computer-generated password. Let me just stop the recording here. I don't think this may be too important for the recording, right?